The email arrived at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, clinical and cold as a coroner's report. I need space. Please respect my privacy going forward. 22 words to end 16 years of marriage. No explanation, no phone call, just Corinne's signature passive-aggressive efficiency wrapped in lawyer speak. I read it twice, sitting in my home office with a lukewarm beer, the house silent except for the furnace clicking on. My first thought wasn't sadness or anger, it was clarity, the kind that hits you when a puzzle finally makes sense. The late nights at her boutique law practice and the new gym membership, the way she'd started saying I instead of we. I typed back, "Of course, I'll forward this to a mediator." Then I logged into our accounts and froze the HELOC. $42,000, locked down with 3 clicks. I removed her as my emergency contact at work, changed the Netflix password. Small moves, surgical strikes. If Corinne wanted privacy, I'd give her so much privacy she'd choke on it. My name's Leo Marsh. I'm 41, a systems architect for a medical software company in Shale Falls, Ohio, one of those Rust Belt towns that peaked in 1987 and has been sliding downhill ever since. Half the houses on my street have for sale signs that have been up so long they're sun-bleached. The mill closed in 2003. The good restaurants followed. Now we've got 3 bars, $2 Generals, and a Walmart that smells like defeat. I walked the dog the next morning, past Mrs. Kowalski's house with its sagging porch, past the Hendersons' place, where the grass hadn't been cut in weeks. And there it was, parked 2 blocks down, trying to be discreet. A cherry red pickup truck with a vanity plate reading Gideon 1. Gideon. Of course. Gideon Vance ran a vintage car restoration shop on the edge of town, the kind of place that was always about to take off, but never quite did. All flash, no cash. He'd done some work on Corinne's Lexus last year. I remembered him. Slicked back hair, expensive cologne that couldn't quite mask the smell of cheap beer and cheaper ambition. The kind of guy who calls everyone brother and has opinions about craft whiskey. So that's who she'd picked. Not someone better than me. Just someone different. Someone who probably told her she was too good for her boring systems architect husband with his steady paycheck and 401k. The irony was delicious. 3 days later, my phone rang at work. HR. "Leo, we have a situation," Angela from Human Resources said, her voice tight with that special tone that meant gossip was about to become official. "Your wife had an accident in our parking garage. Twisted her ankle pretty badly. She listed you as her emergency contact, but she's saying..." "We're separated," I said. "She sent me an email requesting privacy. I respected that by removing her from my contacts." Silence. Then, "Oh my. Well, she's quite upset. She's asking for her sister." "That sounds like a personal matter," I said. "Is there anything else work-related?" I could practically hear Angela's brain recalibrating, filing this away for the break room. "No, that's all." Corinne's privacy experiment was already backfiring. She'd wanted a clean break, a sophisticated separation where she controlled the narrative. But life doesn't work that way. Life is messy. Life is your ankle swelling up in a parking garage while your emergency contact shrugs and says, "Not my problem anymore." Her mother called me that night. Vivian Ashford, old money from Columbus, the kind of woman who wore pearls to the grocery store and had opinions about proper silverware. "You absolute monster!" she shrieked into the phone. "Corinne told me everything. How dare you abandon her when she needed help?" "Did she tell you she asked for a separation?" I said calmly. "Did she mention the privacy she demanded?" "That's no excuse for..." "Did she mention Gideon?" The line went quiet. Then, "Who?" "Ask your daughter about Gideon Vance. I'm sure she'll respect your privacy too." I hung up. The next afternoon, they came for her stuff. I watched from the living room window as Corinne's Lexus pulled up, followed by Beatrix's minivan and Gideon's ridiculous pickup. Corinne limped out on crutches, her sister Beatrix hovering like an anxious hummingbird, and Gideon swaggering behind them with the confidence of a man who doesn't know he's already lost. I opened the door before they could knock. "Leo," Corinne said, her voice strained. "I need to get my things." "Your personal items are boxed in the garage," I said. "Clothes, toiletries, your laptop. Everything else stays until the legal paperwork is filed." "That's ridiculous," Beatrix snapped. She was 2 years older than Corinne, with the same sharp features but none of the polish. "She has a right to her belongings." "She has a right to whatever the court says she has a right to," I replied. "Until then, shared assets stay shared." Gideon stepped forward, puffing out his chest. "Come on, brother. Don't be difficult. Just let her grab her stuff and we'll be out of your hair." I looked at him, really looked at him, saw the gold chain, the too-tight Henley shirt, the elaborate wristwatch that was definitely fake. This was Corinne's upgrade? This was worth 16 years? I'm not your brother, I said. And you're trespassing. The boxes are in the garage. Take them and leave. What about the stereo system? Corinne demanded. And the artwork? And the Wanderer? The Wanderer. A bronze sculpture we'd bought on our honeymoon in Santa Fe. $3,000, back when $3,000 seemed like a romantic gesture instead of a down payment on a used car. Shared assets, I repeated. File the paperwork? Corinne's face flushed red. You're being petty. I'm being precise, I said. There's a difference. Beatrix pulled out her phone. I'm calling the police. Great idea, I said, gesturing to the security camera I'd installed above the door 2 days ago. We can show them the footage of you threatening to trespass for property you have no legal claim to. That stopped her. They took the boxes, 6 of them, neatly labeled and inventoried, and loaded them into the vehicles. Corinne kept looking back at the house, at the life she'd walked away from, and I could see the calculation in her eyes. She'd expected me to fold, expected me to be the nice guy, the reasonable one, the man who'd make this easy for her. But I was done being easy. This isn't over, she said from the driveway. You're right, I replied. It's just beginning. They came back the following Tuesday with a moving truck and 2 hired guys who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. This time Corinne had documentation, a hastily drafted letter from her lawyer claiming she had a right to retrieve her personal property. I let them in. I'd prepared for this. Personal items only, I said to the movers. Anything with a receipt in my name stays. Corinne pushed past me on her crutches, Beatrix and Gideon trailing behind. The movers looked at each other, clearly sensing the tension, clearly regretting their hourly rate. The stereo, Corinne said, pointing. Receipts in my name, I said, pulling out a folder. Purchased December 2019, Best Buy, my credit card. The dining room table, wedding gift from my parents. Want to call them and ask? Her jaw tightened. The paintings in the hallway. Prints I bought at Target. $39 each. Still have the receipts. This went on for 20 minutes, Corinne pointing, me producing documentation, her frustration mounting. Gideon tried to play mediator, suggesting compromises that always seemed to favor Corinne. The movers stood around awkwardly, checking their phones. Finally, Corinne hobbled over to the bookshelf where the Wanderer sat, bronze and serene, a figure walking into an endless horizon. This, she said. This is mine. Joint purchase, I said. Santa Fe, 2008, joint account. I picked it out, and I paid for it with our money, which makes it ours. She reached for it. I stepped between her and the shelf. Don't, I said quietly. Something in my voice must have registered because she stopped, but only for a moment. Then her face twisted, and she grabbed the Wanderer with both hands and hurled it at the floor. The sculpture hit the hardwood with a crash that seemed to echo through the entire house. Bronze doesn't shatter like glass, but it dents. The Wanderer's face caved in, one arm bent at an impossible angle. The smooth patina scraped and gouged. Everyone froze. There, Corinne said, breathing hard. Now neither of us has it. I pulled out my phone and took 3 photos from different angles. The security camera in the corner had already caught everything, but I wanted close-ups. Evidence. Thanks, I said. That's destruction of shared property. Your lawyer's going to love this. Her eyes widened as she realized what she'd done. Beatrix grabbed her arm. Corinne, we should go. You coward, Corinne hissed. You set me up. No, I said. I just gave you enough rope. You did the rest yourself. Gideon tried to salvage the situation. Look, brother, emotions are high. Let's all just take a breath. Get out, I said. All of you, now. They left. The movers left. The house fell silent except for the furnace and my own breathing. I stood there looking at the Wanderer, broken on the floor, and felt something cold and sharp settle in my chest. Not anger, not sadness, purpose. If Corinne wanted to play dirty, I'd show her what dirty really looked like. I sent the photos and security footage to the mediator that night, along with a detailed email documenting the incident. I copied Corinne's lawyer. Then I logged into our joint accounts and documented every transaction from the past 6 months. The charges at Gideon's shop, the hotel stays, the expensive dinners at places we'd never gone together. Building a case, one receipt at a time. The HELOC freeze was already causing problems. I knew because Beatrix called me, which meant Corinne was too proud to do it herself. You need to unfreeze the home equity line, Beatrix said without preamble. Corinne needs that money. For what? That's none of your business. It's absolutely my business. It's secured against a house I'm still paying the mortgage on. She needs it for her new place. Then she can wait for the legal proceedings like everyone else. You're being cruel, Leo. I'm being appropriate, I said. There's a difference. I hung up and blocked her number. The truth came out 2 days later, not from Corinne, but from Tommy, my boss, who'd heard it from his wife, who'd heard it from someone at the salon. Small-town gossip moves faster than fiber optic. Corinne and Gideon had been planning to open a second restoration shop. A bigger place, upscale, catering to collectors. They'd already signed a lease, put down deposits on equipment. The HELOC was supposed to fund the expansion. Without it, they had nothing. I sat in my office staring at my monitor and smiled. Friday night, I went to the Drop, the least depressing of Shale Fall's 3 bars. It had pool tables, decent wings, and a bartender named Deb who didn't ask questions. I was on my second beer when Corinne walked in with Gideon and Beatrix. She saw me immediately. I raised my glass in a mock toast. She limped over, crutches thumping on the sticky floor, Gideon hovering protectively behind her. We need to talk, she said. I'm off the clock, I replied. Talk to the mediator. You froze the HELOC. Community property. Can't have one party liquidating shared assets during separation proceedings. That money was for your boyfriend's failing business? I said loudly enough that heads turned. Yeah, I figured that out. Gideon's face flushed. Watch it, brother. Still not your brother, I said. And maybe invest in a business plan that doesn't rely on stealing from someone's home equity. You son of a... Gideon started forward, but Corinne grabbed his arm. Don't, she said, then to me. You're destroying my life. No, I said calmly. I'm protecting my assets. You destroyed your own life when you sent that email. I want a divorce. File the paperwork. I want the house. Good luck. I want privacy, I interrupted. Because you asked for that already. How's that working out? Her face went white, then red. You're a petty, vindictive small man. Maybe, I said. But I'm a petty, vindictive small man with a fully documented case, security footage of you destroying shared property, and a frozen HELOC. So I guess we're both learning things about ourselves. She turned and walked out, Gideon and Beatrix trailing behind her. The bar was silent for about 5 seconds. Then the murmur of conversation started up again, twice as loud. Deb brought me another beer. That was cold, Leo. She wanted privacy, I said. I'm just respecting her wishes. The next week, I drove past Gideon's shop. It was a corrugated metal building on the edge of town, surrounded by half-restored cars and automotive dreams. The sign out front said, Vance Vintage Restorations, bringing classics back to life. The door was open. I walked in. Gideon was under a hood, grease up to his elbows, classic rock playing from a paint-splattered radio. He looked up when my shadow fell across his workspace. What do you want? He said. Just looking, I said. Nice place. Heard you were expanding. His jaw tightened. Get out. I walked around, hands in my pockets, examining the cars. A B-67 Mustang with its engines scattered across a workbench. A Corvette missing its interior, and in the corner, covered with a tarp, something special. I pulled back the tarp. A 1970 Dodge Challenger. Pristine orange paint, chrome gleaming. Don't touch that, Gideon snapped. Yours? Clients. And it's worth more than your house, so keep your hands off. Beautiful car, I said. Shame if something happened to it. He came around the workbench fast, wrench still in hand. Are you threatening me? No, I said calmly. I'm admiring your work. But you know what's funny? I was just thinking about how fragile these old cars are. How one wrong move, one careless moment, and years of restoration can be ruined. Get out. Like a marriage, I continued. Years of building something, and then someone comes along and smashes it because they want something shinier. I didn't smash anything, Gideon said. Corinne made her choice. And you made yours, I said. You chose to sleep with a married woman, to help her plan a business with stolen money, to play house with someone else's wife? That money wasn't stolen. It was secured against my house. Money I earned, so, yeah, stolen. He took a step closer, wrench raised slightly. You need to leave before this gets ugly. I pulled out my phone and held it up, camera pointed at him. Please do. I'd love to add a tack to the list of things working against you. He stopped, breathing hard. the wrench shaking slightly in his hand. "You think you're so smart," he said. "You think you've got it all figured out." "I'm a systems architect," I said. "I solve problems. And right now, you're a problem." I left before he could respond, walking past the Challenger, past the scattered dreams of automotive glory, out into the gray afternoon. 2 days later, someone vandalized Gideon's shop, spray-painted obscenities across the front door, smashed a window, slashed the tires on 3 cars, including the Challenger. The police investigated. They questioned me. I had an alibi. I'd been at a work conference in Cleveland, hotel receipts and witnesses to prove it. But the damage was done. The Challenger's owner pulled his business. Word spread. Gideon's reputation took a hit. I didn't vandalize his shop. I'm not that stupid. But I also didn't feel particularly bad about it. Sometimes karma just needs a little push to get rolling. The mediation hearing was scheduled for a Wednesday in November. I showed up with my lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia who specialized in high-conflict divorces. Her words, not mine. Corinne arrived with her lawyer, a nervous young guy fresh out of law school who kept adjusting his tie. No Gideon, no Beatrix, just Corinne looking tired and thinner than I remembered. The mediator, a gray-haired man named Roberts, reviewed the documentation, the frozen HELOC, the destroyed sculpture, the security footage, the financial records showing Corinne's spending. "Mrs. Marsh," he said finally, "did you destroy the bronze sculpture referenced in these photos?" "It was a moment of frustration," Corinne said. "Leo was being unreasonable." "That's not what I asked. Did you destroy it?" "Yes, but..." "And, Mr. Marsh, you froze the home equity line of credit to prevent liquidation of shared assets during separation," Patricia said smoothly. "Standard procedure." Roberts nodded, made notes. "Mrs. Marsh, what was your intention for the HELOC funds?" Corinne hesitated. Her lawyer whispered something. She said, "Personal expenses." "Be specific." "A new apartment, security deposit, first month's rent." "And..." Roberts looked at her over his glasses. "According to the withdrawal request, you were attempting to access $42,000. That's a very expensive security deposit." Silence. "Mrs. Marsh?" "Business investment," she said quietly. "What kind of business? Automotive restoration? A partnership? With Mr. Gideon Vance?" Her face went red. "Yes." Robert sat back. "So you were attempting to withdraw marital assets to fund a business venture with your romantic partner without your husband's knowledge or consent?" "It's not like that." "It's exactly like that," Patricia said. "And it demonstrates bad faith in these proceedings." The hearing went downhill from there. Roberts ruled that the house would remain in my name pending final divorce proceedings. Shared assets would be split 50-50, but I'd get credit for the destroyed sculpture. Corinne would need to document any future withdrawal requests. Walking out, Corinne grabbed my arm. "You're ruining me." "No," I said. "I'm protecting myself. You ruined yourself when you decided privacy meant you could do whatever you wanted without consequences." "I loved you," she said. Past tense, noted. Her lawyer pulled her away before she could respond. Thanksgiving came and went. I ate Chinese food alone in my apartment. I'd moved out of the house after the hearing, couldn't stand being there anymore, and watched football. My phone stayed silent. My mother had died 3 years ago. My father was in Arizona with his new wife. I had friends, technically, but they'd mostly been couple friends, and couple friends evaporate fast when the couple splits. Except for Mike and Sarah Brennan. They'd invited me over for dessert, a pity invitation I'd accepted because the alternative was more Chinese food and more football. They lived in a nice subdivision on the good side of town, the kind of place where people still mowed their lawns and Christmas lights went up the day after Thanksgiving. Sarah answered the door with a hug. Mike shook my hand, and we went into their warm, perfect living room with its warm, perfect decorations and warm, perfect family photos on every surface. "How are you holding up?" Sarah asked, cutting me a slice of pumpkin pie. "I'm fine," I said. "We heard about the mediation," Mike said carefully. "Sounds like it went well." "As well as can be expected." They exchanged a look, one of those married couple looks that communicates entire conversations. "What?" I said. "We ran into Corinne last week," Sarah said. "At Target, she said some things." "What kind of things?" Another look. "Just tell me," I said. "She said you were being abusive," Mike said finally. "That you'd frozen her out financially, that you were trying to destroy her life, that you'd threatened Gideon." I set down my fork. "And you believed her?" "No," Sarah said quickly. "Of course not. We know you, Leo. We know you'd never... But, I said, because there was definitely a but coming. Mike shifted uncomfortably, but she was really upset, crying in the middle of Target, and she showed us texts from her lawyer about the HELOC and you're wondering if maybe I'm being too harsh, I finished. It's just, Sarah started. She cheated on me, I said flatly. She demanded privacy, then tried to steal $42,000 to fund her boyfriend's business. She destroyed a $3,000 sculpture out of spite, and I'm the bad guy for protecting my assets. We know, Mike said. We know she messed up, but maybe you could ease up a little? Let her have some of the smaller stuff? The stereo, the artwork? I stood up. Thanks for the pie. Leo, don't. She got to you, I said. She played the sufferer card and you bought it. That's fine, that's your choice. But I'm done being the nice guy who makes things easy for everyone else. We're just trying to help, Sarah said. Help her, I said. I don't need it. I left. Drove home through streets decorated with twinkling lights and inflatable Santas. Sat in my apartment with its bare walls and secondhand furniture and felt the loneliness settle in like fog. But I didn't call them back. Didn't apologize, because I was done apologizing for protecting myself. The phone rang at 2 a.m. on a Saturday in early December. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Leo? Beatrix's voice slurred and panicked. Leo, you need to come get Corinne. What? She's drunk, at the drop. She won't leave and she's making a scene and Gideon's not answering and I don't know what to do. Call her an Uber. She's asking for you. Please, Leo, please. I hung up, stared at the ceiling, told myself to go back to sleep. 10 minutes later, I was in my car. The drop was nearly empty, just a few regulars at the bar and Deb wiping down tables. Corinne sat in a corner booth, mascara streaked, nursing what looked like her 10th drink. Beatrix hovered nearby, wringing her hands. I slid into the booth across from Corinne. You came, she said, her voice thick. Beatrix called. I knew you would. You always come when I need you. I came to make sure you don't drive drunk and end someone, I said. That's it. She laughed, bitter and sharp. Always so practical, so responsible, so boring. Yeah, I said. That's me. Boring Leo with his boring job and his boring life. I didn't mean... You meant it, I said. That's why you left. That's why you picked Gideon. Because he's exciting. He's dangerous. He's everything I'm not. He's broke, she said quietly. The shop's failing. The expansion's dead. He's drowning in debt. And he keeps saying it'll get better, but it won't, Leo. It won't get better. That's not my problem. I made a mistake. She reached across the table, grabbed my hand. I made a terrible mistake, and I don't know how to fix it. I pulled my hand back. You can't fix it. It's done. We could try again. We could go to counseling, work things out. No. Please, Leo, please, I'll end things with Gideon. I'll do whatever you want. Just please don't leave me with nothing. I looked at her, really looked at her, saw the desperation, the fear, the realization that her exciting new life was imploding, and I felt nothing. No pity, no anger, just a cold, clear certainty. You left me with nothing, I said. You sent that email asking for privacy, and you walked away from 16 years like it meant nothing. So, no, Corinne, we're not trying again. We're done. I stood up. Beatrix was crying now, quiet tears streaming down her face. Get her home safe, I told her, and don't call me again. I walked out into the cold December night and didn't look back. Christmas week, the final divorce papers came through. The house would be sold, proceeds split 50-50 after I was reimbursed for the mortgage payments I'd made during separation. Shared assets divided according to Robert's ruling. Corinne got her car, her clothes, her law practice. I got everything else. I signed the papers in Patricia's office, her assistant notarizing each page. You did well, Patricia said. Most people in your situation cave, give up things they're entitled to just to make it end faster. I'm not most people, I said. Clearly. I walked out of her office into bright winter sunshine, the papers in a manila envelope under my arm, and felt lighter than I had in months. But I wasn't done yet. I spent New Year's Eve in my apartment drinking good whiskey and planning. I documented everything, every text, every email, every financial transaction. I had security footage, witness statements, legal rulings. I had the truth meticulously organized and backed up in 3 separate locations. And I had one more move to make. The email went out on January 2nd, sent to a carefully curated list. Corinne's law partners, her professional network, the local bar association. Subject line, professional conduct inquiry. The body was simple, factual, and devastating. I detailed Corinne's attempt to misuse marital assets, her destruction of shared property, her fraudulent emergency contact claims at my workplace. I attached documentation, security footage, legal rulings. I didn't editorialize, didn't need to. The facts spoke for themselves. Within a week, I heard through the grapevine that Corinne's partners were reviewing her position at the firm. Within 2 weeks, 3 of her clients had quietly moved to other attorneys. Within a month, her boutique law practice was hemorrhaging business. I didn't feel guilty. I felt satisfied. February brought the house sale. I met Corinne one last time at the closing, both of us signing papers across a conference table while a tired realtor explained disbursement schedules. Corinne looked older, thinner, harder. Gideon wasn't with her. Beatrix wasn't with her. She was alone. "You destroyed my career," she said when the realtor left to make copies. "I documented your behavior," I corrected. "Your career destroyed itself. I'm probably going to have to leave town." "Probably." "You win, Leo. Are you happy? You win." I gathered my papers, stood up. "This wasn't about winning. It was about not losing everything while you figured out your midlife crisis." "I loved you," she said again, like it mattered. "You loved the idea of me," I said. "The stable husband, the reliable partner, the boring safety net while you chased excitement. But you can't have both, so you chose. And now you get to live with that choice." I walked out, got in my car, drove to my apartment, sat on my second-hand couch and looked at the check for my half of the house sale. $137,000, enough to start over, enough to build something new. I thought about Corinne, alone in that conference room, facing the wreckage of her choices. I thought about Gideon, drowning in debt and broken dreams. I thought about Mike and Sarah and all the couple friends who'd chosen sides or faded away, and I felt nothing but relief. The last piece fell into place in March. I was at a coffee shop working on my laptop when I overheard 2 women talking at the next table. "Did you hear about Corinne Marsh?" "The lawyer? What about her?" "She's moving to Pittsburgh. Her practice basically collapsed. Something about ethics violations and a messy divorce." "Wow, I always thought she had it so together." "Guess not." I didn't turn around, didn't acknowledge them, just kept typing, a small smile on my face. That night, I took the shattered pieces of The Wanderer from the box where I'd saved them and laid them out on my kitchen counter. The bronze figure, broken and bent, its face caved in, its journey ended. I could have had it repaired, could have found an artist to restore it, make it whole again. Instead, I threw it in the trash. Some things, once broken, aren't worth fixing. Better to let them go and start fresh. I logged into my bank account, looked at the balance. The house sale money, my savings, the bonuses I'd earned while Corinne was busy destroying our marriage. Enough to buy a small house outright. Enough to invest. Enough to build the life I wanted instead of the life I'd settled for. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "I hope you're satisfied." I deleted it without responding. Another text. "You ruined my life." Delete. "I hate you." Delete. The texts kept coming, angrier and more desperate, and I kept deleting them until finally they stopped. I poured myself a whiskey, sat on my couch, and pulled up house listings. Small places, manageable, mine. No shared assets. No joint accounts. No compromises. Just me, starting over, with the last word. 3 months later, I closed on a small ranch house on the east side of town. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, a garage big enough for a workshop. Nothing fancy, nothing impressive, just mine. I moved in on a Saturday, carrying boxes from my car to the empty rooms, the afternoon sun streaming through bare windows. No movers, no help. Just me and my stuff and the quiet satisfaction of a fresh start. That evening, I sat on the back porch with a beer, looking at the small yard that needed mowing, the fence that needed fixing, the garden that needed planting. Projects, possibilities, mine. My phone rang. Patricia, my lawyer. "Just wanted to let you know the final paperwork cleared," she said. "You're officially divorced." "Thanks. How are you doing?" "Good," I said, and meant it. "Really good." "Glad to hear it. Take care of yourself, Leo." I hung up and sat there as the sun set, painting the sky orange and pink and gold. Somewhere across town, Corinne was packing for Pittsburgh, leaving behind the wreckage of her choices. Somewhere, Gideon was probably closing his failing shop, drowning in debt and regret. Somewhere, Mike and Sarah were having dinner with their perfect family in their perfect house, probably not thinking about me at all. And here I was, alone in my small house with my small yard and my small life. And I'd never felt freer. The revenge wasn't dramatic. No explosions, no confrontations, no movie-worthy showdowns. Just patience, documentation, and the willingness to let someone destroy themselves while I protected what was mine. Corinne had wanted privacy. I gave her so much privacy, she disappeared. She'd wanted excitement. She got chaos. She'd wanted a fresh start. She got exile. And me? I got exactly what I wanted. The last word. I finished my beer, went inside, and started unpacking boxes. Tomorrow I'd fix the fence. Next week I'd plant the garden. Next month I'd start dating again, maybe or maybe not. It didn't matter. For the first time in 16 years, my life was mine. My choices, my rules, my future, and that was revenge enough.